Hi everyone, it's Shell from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to be making a masculine birthday card, and I'm going to be showing you guys my take on the video that Kelly Taylor posted the other day about masculine backgrounds. So we're going to be using the Simon Says Stamp Deco Borders and Corners stamp set, as well as the Hero Arts Mid-Tone Tide Pool ink and this piece of blue cardstock that I had lying on my desk. Oh, I chose one of the borders from that stamp set and I'm lining it up with the top edge, and we're going to ink it up 4 different times, ink it up and stamp it down 4 different times for the first border. Then after that, we're going to ink it up 2 different times and stamp it down for the second row. And the third row, we're going to ink it up 1 time. So in Kelly's video, she inked it up, stamped it down, and then without re-inking the stamp set, she moved it and stamped it right underneath so that it would be a second generation stamping. I wanted mine to be a little bit different, and I wanted mine to be ombre. So I figured I wanted to use the same ink because I wanted to show you guys that you can get color variation with having little supplies, because I think that a lot of the times most of us have full set syndrome, which I know I have, and I feel like I need every color ink in the rainbow and every color of whatever it is that is out there in the marketplace. And I'm trying to be a little bit better about that instead of buying extra things, using the supplies that I already have, because as I'm going through and cleaning my craft room, I'm realizing that I have a lot of stuff that I have not used. So I'm going through it and trying to use this, and I haven't used my colored inks in a very long time. So you're going to see, like I said, I inked up and stamped the stamp down 4 times for the first row, 2 times for the second, and 1 for the third. So you get that ombre look and just a little bit lighter each time we go down the card. Originally, I was just going to do the background and kind of put like a happy birthday sentiment on it. This is actually for my brother. His birthday was Tuesday, and we are all going out to brunch on Sunday to celebrate him. So I thought that would be fine, but then I decided to step it up a little bit. So I'm using Distress Oxide in Salvage Patina to go around the edges, concentrating it on the top, kind of pulling that color down, but making it an ombre as well. Now I'm going to be using this fancy frosting stamp set that I have from Honeybee Stamps. I wasn't sure, like I said, I wasn't going to do this at first, but I thought that it needed more of a focal point on the front of it rather than just happy birthday. So I picked out the platter or the cake stand, and then the cake to me seemed a little bit too wedding-y. So I thought if I stamped it down and then just used the very top layer, I could cut it out. I don't have the dies that coordinate with this. There are coordinating dies with, I think, almost all of the Honeybee sets, but I didn't order them. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out with scissors. I'm going to fussy cut it out. I left most of the watercoloring in because I thought I'd do a little bit of story time today so you guys can watch me watercolor and I would talk to you a little bit about what's been going on. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you probably saw that I was a guest speaker for one of my alma maters. It was a school that I went to get my MBA. A couple weeks ago, this one club, the AMA, which is a marketing group, reached out to some former students and asked if they wanted to come back and speak about their career, how they got there, give the students advice, answer questions, talk about internships, things like that. And totally out of my comfort zone, I said, sure, why not, thinking that they wouldn't get back to me and that, they had other people lined up. And sure enough, a couple days later, one of the girls from the club, Anna, got back to me and said, how about you come in at the end of the month? And I was like, okay. I didn't know how often they met, didn't know how many students I would be speaking to, didn't know how many of them were even interested in sales, which is what I do. So put together a presentation, and I really didn't have a lot to go on. Went on Friday, and I met the girl Anna, who was the one that I had been emailing back and forth with, and she said, oh, you're our first guest speaker of the year, which made me even more nervous because I didn't know how they were, I didn't know how many people were even going to show up, this being the first meeting of the year. And it turned out to be about 20 kids, which was way more than I thought there would be. I had this whole presentation together, but they really, once I started talking, I asked them if they had any questions, and there were so many good questions coming from them. And it was really nice because it was a very interactive dialogue, which was more than I expected. I kind of thought that, I don't know, I thought maybe I'd be boring to them or wasn't really sure, how they were going to receive me. Like I said, lots of really, really good questions and, asking about how to negotiate a salary, which I had to be completely honest with and say, I've never actually done that, but I can tell you what I would have done if I did that. And then we talked a little bit about the fear of changing jobs and negotiating and things like that. And I had a list of classes that I went through their course catalog and put together a list of classes that I thought would be beneficial to them if they weren't seniors and graduating, because there were a couple of them that were graduating, but classes that I thought they could take even if they weren't going into sales, because when you go for an interview, there's a lot of different times where you have to sell yourself to somebody else. So I think that selling and negotiations are classes that everybody should take. And talked, about going out of my comfort zone and how when I was an undergrad, I had a class where every other week we had to find an article and recap it and stand up in front of everybody and speak for 3 minutes. And these are people that I spent 4 years with because I was in a very small major at the university that I went to. There was probably, I would say, 20 to 30 of us at the max that were in this program, and because it was very specialized, it was food marketing. And I had been going to school with these same people, and we were in the same classes for 4 years, and I still hated every time I had to get up in front of that class and make a 3-minute speech. I just rambled on, and all of a sudden I was like, is it 3 minutes yet? And if you didn't hit your 3 minutes, you had to stand up there and kind of improvise. So things like that, and was just telling them that, to step out of their comfort zones, and things that I wish that people would have told me, even though I probably wouldn't have listened back then. But, it was just nice to be able to get up there, and I really feel like they listened to what I said, whether they are going to implement it or not. But they, like I said, they had a lot of really, really good questions. A couple of them I was totally unprepared for, and, it took me a minute to think about it. And one of the things that I'm trying to work on this year at work, and I guess personally, whatever, is silence is okay. It's all right to stop and think for a minute and not just answer right away. So, but that was, that was something that I had some advice for them. I had some classes for them to take. I told them a little bit about my experiences. Somebody asked me what my favorite job was, which was really funny. I just was like, I never thought about what my favorite job was, but I definitely had an answer for that one. Because if I think about it, I really do know which job that I've done was my absolute favorite. But yeah, so it was really interesting. I hope that it was valuable to those students that were there. The one thing that really threw me off was one of the kids who was a senior. He said to me, "What's your LinkedIn?" So I wrote it on the board, and when I got home, I think I had 9 new requests for LinkedIn because I told them how important connections are and to maintain connections. So I said, feel free to, find me on, after he asked that, I said, hey, feel free to find me on LinkedIn. And about half of them did. So I was really impressed with that because I guess I must have made a good impression. So something that I would 100% do again, totally nervous and out of my comfort zone. And I told them, I'm traditionally an introverted person. So it was a little bit nerve-wracking for me, but, they made me feel very welcome, and it was great. So that's my little story about what I did. And it was nice to be able to kind of hopefully give back and give some advice to some of the next generation coming up into the workforce. Okay, so back to the card. So you saw that I fussy cut these images out. I used a black marker to go around all of the edges just to kind of mask where I didn't cut really well. And now I'm going around all of, or I'm using the Honeybee Bee Creative Glue to go ahead and glue down the cake stand. I'm going to pop up the cake. I did add the dots to the cake. That was, it's almost, again, it's like an ombre there. I use that same color ink to do that. The stamp is kind of an ombre one where the dots are more concentrated at the top and then there's less at the bottom. So it looks like, it's kind of like that, kind of like that ombre look. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Jeez. So I put some foam tape behind the cake. So as I wanted to pop that up, place that on there. And then I was looking at it. I'm like, I feel like it needs something else. So let's glue it together. So the card base measures, or the card front measures 4 by 5 1/4. The gray piece measures an eighth of an inch larger than the base piece, or I keep saying that, I'm sorry, the card front. And then I'm going to glue that down to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. So there's a little bit of a white border around the edges. I think that looks really nice. I like when there's just a little bit of that card base showing. So this stamp is from a stamp set from Honeybee Stamps. I believe this one is the You Bake Me Happy. Went ahead and stamped that down, and I do have the coordinating dies for this. I'm not really sure. I think I bought this in a bundle. I think that's really the reason that I have most of the coordinating dies that I do, is because they were in a bundle and it was cheaper to buy them together. So I went ahead and put the die in place. I really do like having the dies for the die cuts for the words. It makes it so much easier. I ran that through my Bitty Buzz cutter after taping it down into place, and I'm going to pop up that sentiment. So I just took that extra piece of foam tape that I had left over from the cake and just cut it into little pieces and put it on the back. It was a pain to get all of the backing off afterwards. If I redid it again, I would take the backing off and then just cut the pieces and put them down into place so that I didn't have to worry about taking off each individual backing piece, because that was quite painful because they kept popping up. And so, of course, I don't do anything the easy way, but hopefully I'll learn from my mistake. I placed that down on the front, and then I was like, I need to do the inside. So I stamped this out thinking that I also had the dies for this. And these are the inside birthday sentiments from Honeybee Stamps. I'm inking it up in Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, which is the same ink that I inked up the cake platter or the cake stand, the cake, and did I ink up anything? And the sentiment on the front. I used the same jet black ink. And because I didn't have the die for this, I go ahead and cut it down. I didn't stamp it straight because at first I was thinking, oh wow, it's so nice that I don't have to worry about stamping it straight because I have the die. Well, I don't. So I had to do some improvising. And you saw me use the scissors on that. There was a little bit of that like paper fuzz that was left. I tried to get that off. I used the same Honeybee Bee Creative Glue to go ahead and glue the sentiment on the inside. And then I'm using some clear Nuvo drops to make the dots on the cake shiny and 3-dimensional. So I finished that off, and that is the card for today. I hope this helps with masculine cards. And if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below and I will get back to you. And I will see you guys again real soon for another video. Bye!